Okay, so I'm going to re-watch or redo this argument, you might say. Uh, I'm trying to frame it in a different way because when I first I did a video where I basically made the claim that JP Sears was a trans person in denial. Me. And that you could see that in the way he opposes the raising the non-gender child. Uh, First of all, the question is, why would you be opposed to raising a non-gender child? With the goal is not to raise a non-gendered person. The goal is to allow the child to discover for themselves who they are in terms of their gender. And so the first question that raises for me is, why would you be opposed to that? Uh, are you worried that a child might come to the conclusion on their own if you let them? If you don't steer them, they might come to the conclusion that they are transgender. Uh, that seems to be the case because really I don't know why you would think that this would be a problem. He does go into a little bit later in this. He talks about things like psychological damage from having tried on 73 plus genders, but really that's just another way of imposing gender onto the child. I mean, if you're going to say that you're going to allow the child the freedom to discover for themselves who they are, imposing the idea on them that there are more than 73 genders is essentially trying to steer them in one direction or another. But I'm not going to say that that's necessarily faulty logic, but it's not very good logic because you don't have to impose ideas of gender onto the child for the child to discover their gender. You can just it's not even you don't even have to bring it up. Uh, I do have the question of whether if you were to take a group of children away from their parents and put them on an island, like what was that book, The Lord of the Flies, and where the plane what was it, a plane crashes on an island or something, and the children are left to fend for themselves. If the think about gender for a second, if children were raised in an environment where there were no adults, they grew up, say, on a deserted island, would they come to the same conclusions about gender that we have in our society currently? That if you were born with a penis, that means you have to act like a boy, or you have to wear boys' clothes, or if you're born with a vagina, then you have to be soft and delicate, and you have to wear dresses. And all. Would they come to those same conclusions, or would they kind of just try everything? Would the boys try on the girls' clothes, and the girls try on the boys' clothes, and uh, would maybe some of the boys would be submissive to some of the girls, or even to the other boys in kind of the way that a girl might be? Uh, would some of the girls act tough and be like, "Hey, come on, put up your dukes"? Uh, that's something that I'm curious about. I don't think that it would be wrong for something like that to happen. I'm not going to say that it should be done, but if children were to experiment with gender, what is the harm with that? Uh, so my thing when I did the previous video, my thing was kind of trying to pick on JP Sears and say, well, he's trans in denial. Uh, but the thing is, I don't know that. I can't prove that. I really don't want to try to prove that. It could be that he's doing exactly what God wants him to do, you know? And I don't mean to say that God is in denial of trans and in denial. That's not what I mean at all. I don't believe that God is transphobic. I mean, just look at all the trans animals out there. But if I were going to try to make a claim, uh, well, so the first claim that I would make is that the logic in this this is basically an argument based video. He's making several arguments here. This is all presented as humor, as sarcasm. So you kind of have to infer or interpret what the arguments are, but it's not that difficult. But I would say that there is not a bit of sound logic in this thing here. And the question for me is kind of what does that mean for someone like J.P. Sears? Is this just an act? Is this did someone pay him to do this? Is this his baby and he has some kind of emotional aversion to the idea of not just raising a non-gender child, but considering the possibility that the child might deviate from the social norms and start thinking, I'm trans, or someone born with a penis might say, I'm a girl. Is that what he has an emotional aversion to that? Is that why he goes through these really just dead, kind of deflated, uh, what are unsound arguments? uh, I'm not a psychologist. I don't know. I can't. I'm not the one to make a case. I would say that someone is in denial, but partly because I could be in denial myself. But mm, to me, that's what this looks like. It looks like that. But like I said, I don't really want to try to prove that that is the case. I think what I would rather just do. What do I want to do exactly? What is it that I'm trying to do exactly? Let me drink a sip of coffee and think about that for a second. Uh, Sometimes what I have a hard time with is taking things at face value. Um, or just kind of, you might say, I'm careful to try to not to see what I want to see, or I don't know why I did that. I just like doing that for some reason. I guess it makes me look smart, maybe. Uh, One of the reasons why I feel hesitant is because I feel like I do have this urge or this temptation. I think the thing is, I would say it is tempting to point out a trans person in denial. For me, I have that temptation, and that's a little bit why I'm kind of like I should stay away from this. But I'm trying to reframe that in another way that justifies me actually going through this. And I'm like, what is there any good that comes out of me doing this? Is there, I mean, assuming for a second that he is trans in denial, is there any good that comes out of me proving that? Uh, for one, I don't think I can prove that because, like I said, this could be an act. He could have been paid by somebody to make this video. I don't know. I don't know where he's coming from. I don't know what his intentions are. Uh, so I couldn't prove that, and even if I could, I don't know that it would do anybody else any good, unless it was important for society to be able to point out people who are in trans and in denial. Like, uh, was seeing a psychologist in Atlanta years ago, and I asked her the question: would you diagnose someone? Uh, Psychologists don't give a diagnosis of trans. If you go to a psychologist and you're talking about problems that you have with your gender, if you say like I feel just uncomfortable around other men. I don't feel like I don't fit in, and I don't really like trying to act like a man. I feel like I'm just pretending. And when I'm with women, I just feel that kind of anxiety, like I'm kind of like I'm forcing something that's it's not quite natural. She's not going to say, well, you're probably trans. She's going to say, or he is going to say, what you're describing is gender dysphoria. And so I asked her the question, my psychologist. I said, would you ever give the diagnosis of gender dysphoria or trans to someone who did not tell you that they were thinking that they were trans or that they were having a problem with gender dysphoria? And she said, no, I would not. She said it depends on the person. But she said the thing is that I consider pretty much whether they would be able to take it or not, because a psychologist informing a patient maybe who is struggling with depression and anxiety, putting that diagnosis on a person like that they could become suicidal. They could have a breakdown, or just it would be it could be a very catastrophic event. It might be like almost like discovering that there is no such thing as the United States, that this has all been a reptilian government ruling the world all along, or something like that, where you're just like, your whole paradigm of reality gets busted all in one blow. And so I don't know that it would do any good to try to prove that JP Sears is trans in denial, because I wouldn't go up to him and say, you're trans in denial. I might, if I were to do it, I might do it as a maybe. Uh, you know, like, hey, buddy, I think you might be trans in denial. Certainly wouldn't try to prove it to him. So I guess maybe if I were going to do the video, I would do it in that same kind of light, where I'm not going to say, I'm going to leave it up for you to decide. Uh, because, like I said, it's not really my place to decide who he is, and in a way that is a little bit hypocritical for me to do if I'm going to argue in favor of raising a non-gendered child, where the objective is to allow the child to discover on their own who they are. Like if I were to go to JP Sears and say, hey, I think you're trans, you need to transition, that would be me imposing on him my ideas of gender, which is, I don't have children, so I'm not really I don't really have a dog in the fight here. I don't need to, I have bug bites on my arm. Anyways, I think I've given enough thought to that, so I'm just going to jump into the video and see if I make sure I got my audio hooked up right.
You want to be a good parent. don't you?
All right. Ah, ah. So this is the kind of sarcasm that I'm talking about, that I mentioned before. This is a when it comes to propaganda. This what he just did is it's a form of manipulation. He's kind of laying a guilt trip on you straight out of the gate, saying that you want to be a good parent, don't you? As though to say, if you want to be a good parent, listen to what I have to say. Now, it is the rest of it is sarcasm, so you might say, well, he's actually trying to persuade you to something that he doesn't actually believe in, but he's actually presenting it as sarcasm, which is obvious. So I'll let you see that for yourself.
I thought so. That's why I'm going to teach you 5 ways on how to raise a non-gendered child.
Oh,
Hi, I'm with the Socialist Federation Against America. Now, you as a
so I'm going to be stopping it a lot because he makes just a lot of, what do you want to call that? Is that faulty logic there that he just did? Was that what is that? What was this? I represent the Socialist Federation Against America. What was that? What does that have to do with raising a non-gender child? Uh, this was something that I pointed out in the Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh videos. Both of them were, they weren't trying to prove that this was that transgender ideology or transgenderism is a leftist thing, but they basically just tied it to it without any proof, without any argument. There was no, well, we know this is coming from the left because this is it was disseminated by the Democratic National Party. They put out a memo that we're going to turn men into women. It is basically just stated as a claim. Like Ben Shapiro's like, this is leftist propaganda. This is leftist propaganda when he was watching this Fox News clip about a transgender child. But he didn't actually, for one, he didn't actually tie those two together. He didn't ever said, we know this is coming from the left because A, B, C, or anything like that. And so my thing is that now let me back up a little bit. There, it may be the case that most trans are leftists or that they are liberals. That doesn't mean that the cause and effect relationship or that the correlation is a cause and effect thing, where it's being a leftist that makes you trans. You know, there may be a correlation there that because psychologically there is a correlation between people who are uh, leftist and people who they don't have the sort of identity boundaries that someone who is conservative has. Right? Like their sense of identity is actually the way that like leftists view nationalities. You know how leftists kind of have more of a globalist perspective where it's like boundaries don't really matter. Uh, that applies also to their own identity, where they might say, "Well, it doesn't really matter if I'm a man and I wear lipstick because that's just a boundary, and boundaries aren't real." Um, which, if you think of when I say boundaries, I mean gender norm boundaries, where it's kind of taboo or an unspoken rule that men don't wear lipstick. Uh, Liberals would be more likely to just ignore those boundaries or to just willfully transgress them. Uh, but that's not necessarily a leftist plot, right? That's just who they are as people. That's their personality traits which is why they become leftists. Me. That being said, not everybody who has those traits is a leftist or a socialist or any of those things. Myself, I consider myself more in the middle, or more of I'm kind of like a Buddhist in the sense that I see the middle path as the path of wisdom. I don't really subscribe to going to the extremes. Like, it's not all sunlight is not good. All darkness is not good. It's good to have a little period of light and a little period of dark. Uh, so, huh. Yeah, tying this to the socialist is faulty logic. If I just take the all squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares kind of logic and apply it to this, it seems quite obvious that perhaps socialists there are socialists who are in favor of raising non-gendered children. That doesn't mean that people in favor of raising non-gendered children are socialists. So, me.
A caring parent.
Yeah.
No, the last thing your child needs is structure and guidance, especially when it comes to objective reality. Kind of like how your child.
All right. I told you I'm going to be stopping it a lot. So he says the last thing your child needs is structure and guidance, especially when it comes to objective reality. Which is essentially implying that if you raise a non-gender child, that you're not providing your child with structure and guidance when it comes to objective reality. Which is a little bit. How do I put this? If a person born with a penis needs to be guided to the idea that he is a boy, is he really a boy? You know, would a person who is really a boy not come to that conclusion on their own if that is who they are? Uh, this is something that I think comes from a little bit of an old-fashioned idea. This is something that I used to hear when I was growing up, that it is the father's role to teach his sons how to act like men, and I do that because what I do this, I use this kind of willy-nilly sometimes. And here I'm using that to indicate that teaching a child to act like a man it's not a real thing, or it implies something that's not real. Because the whole notion of being taught how to act like a man, this basically means that man is not real, right? If you have to be taught how to act like a man, then what is man? Man is an image that somebody created, right? It's not he's talking about objective reality here. I don't need to be taught that I have a penis, right? I mean, I might need to be taught the word. Somebody might need to teach me that this thing between my legs is called a penis, but I don't need to be taught that I have it. I can see that for myself. It is objective reality. How I should act based on that fact is not objective reality. So if a parent needs to teach me and give me guidance and structure and say, you have a penis, that means you need to dress in boys' clothes. That means you need to be tough and not show your emotions. You shouldn't be crying. You shouldn't be sitting like a girl. You shouldn't be throwing like a girl. You shouldn't certainly be messing around with boys when it comes to sex and stuff like that. You shouldn't be doing any of that stuff. That is a created image. right? That's not objective reality. What you should do and should not do is not objective reality. Everybody, I wouldn't say everybody knows, because there is a debate about this as to whether morality is subjective or objective. Uh, when it comes to right and wrong, and when I say right and wrong, I do also include like what you should do. Should you brush your teeth every day? Should a person born with a penis wear boys' clothes? Uh, that is not objective reality, right? Uh, but of course, the idea here is not. He doesn't really discuss the behavior, because he doesn't actually make the claim that boys should not wear women's clothing, but he does. He presents it as if a boy thinks he's a girl, he's basically a Looney Tune, and his parents are Looney Tunes for letting him think that. Of course, he is wearing female clothing, feminine clothing himself, so maybe he's okay with boys wearing girls' clothes. He just doesn't want them by saying that they are girls. I don't know. Did I say everything I had to say there? Yeah, but that is kind of the idea. Is I'm assuming I haven't talked to any parents. I have not read about parents raising non-gendered children. I'm doing it again, but my assumption is that the reason for doing that is to let them come to the discover on their own who they are, and the reason for that is to help them avoid enduring a life of pain unnecessarily by imposing your ideas of gender on them. But basically, by saying, to somebody, you have to act this way, you can't act that way, and then thereby causing psychological damage to your own children. uh, uh, so yeah, you could still, disregarding gender, you could still provide guidance and structure and helping your child kind of learn about objective reality. Like you can say that bright thing in the sky up there, that's called the sun. Now, the child can see that there's a bright thing up there. That is objective reality. You're just giving them a name for it. Uh, what they think about the sun, or what they, if they want to write a poem about the sun or whatever, that's their subjective concern. Uh,
Child's body would be much better off if they didn't have the structure of their pesky skeletal system. So let's do that to their psychology with these Federation-approved 5 ways to raise a non.
Yeah, so here he's basically implying that if your parents don't tell you who you are, then your psychology will have no structure. You won't have any kind of rigid ideology, any rigid idea about who you are as a person, which is actually part of that. What he basically just described is he's got it backwards, right? That people get stuck in these rigid ideas about who they are because they were conditioned by their parents, and they end up getting stuck in these things, and they end up becoming alcoholics or drug users because they have these rigid, structured ideas that their parents said, you're this, you're that, you're this, whatever. And the child doesn't know who they are because their parents led them in the wrong direction. So I'm not going to say that children should learn everything on their own, but when it comes to who you are as a person, who can tell you that? How can a parent tell their child who they are as a person? How can a parent tell their child, this is what you're going to be when you grow up? These are the dreams you're going to have. This is the kind of person you're going to want to marry. These are the clothes you're going to wear, or you're going to want to wear. That would be more. Um, like I said, I'm in favor of a period of darkness and a period of light. It's the same with rigidity and flexibility, right? children need some amount of flexibility in their life. If you make their lives too rigid, you essentially put them into a cage, right? A cage is very rigid structure, right? That is essentially the structure that he's describing is a cage, a prison, whatever you want to call it.
Ungendered child. Never throw gender reveal parties. Gender reveal parties are done all wrong nowadays. After 12 weeks, parents can just find out the gender of a baby via medical tests, and then they do a gender reveal party. That is nothing but pure hate rooted in biology. Now, if you want to be
So this was something that I pointed out in both the Matt Walsh and Ben Shapiro videos. Also, is this insistence that gender and biological sex are the exact same thing, that there is no difference, that really the notion that gender has something to do with your internal drives or desires, your psychological makeup, the person. Like if I were to say if I were to ask you the question, who are you? Are you going to look at your body and say, well, this is me right here. This is me. Or are you going to kind of picture who you are as in kind of the soul within the body? Like, what is it that you like? What is it that you aspire to do? As someone who likes to paint, I like to say that if you want to see who I am as a person, look at my paintings, because all my paintings are self-portraits. It doesn't matter what I paint, it is a portrait of me. That is what I look like on the inside, right? That is what. Yeah, you can. It's up to you, really. You guys don't usually set the alarm. Usually if I'm in here, it's not set. See ya. Oh man. All right, where was I? Yeah, the insistence that gender and biological sex are the same thing. Basically, like I said, essentially uh, denying the possibility that gender is in any way related to your psyche, which is for me it is a completely absurd idea, because it almost seems though they're saying that your desires come from your genitalia. Like if you have a vagina, it's your vagina that determines whether you want to be a husband or a wife, or whether you want to make yourself pretty and be pursued by a man who's really hard on to penetrate you. uh, that seems to be what they're saying is like that comes from the vagina. If you were born with the vagina, that is your desire by default. That it has nothing to do with your brain, because your desires don't come from your brain, because uh, or if it does, you have a vagina brain basically. Like it's that there's a link, right? Your vagina dictates the desires of your brain, or your penis dictates the desires of your brain. So if you were born with a vagina, you're not going to want to drive a big truck. You're not going to want to be tough and go into battle and that sort of thing. If you were born with a vagina, that's ridiculous. Because it's your biological sex that determines what you want in life, and your dreams and your aspirations, and the clothes you like to wear and all that stuff. Uh, because that is one thing that is in all three of these videos. That is one thing that they don't actually address, is that just say for example that if I had a full head of hair, I would be growing my hair long. So just say for example I have long hair. I wear makeup all the time. I wear nail polish all the time. I wear dresses, uh, high heels. I only date men. I don't date women. And I'm basically living as though I were a woman. because that's what I want, right? Uh, not because not because I just made up the idea that I'm a girl, but that's because that's what I like to do. They don't address that. It's not the behavior that they're addressing. It is the kind of, you might say, the belief or the claim uh, that a boy can be a girl or vice versa. Because they don't. There's no argument against that. There's no argument. There's no like scientific kind of claim, at least, as to say, well, a boy who wants to dress in dresses, uh, that's just a sign of a mental disorder. We have proof because we've done studies and we've shown that there's brain damage that's correlated with this desire. Like if a boy wants to dress in women's clothing, it's because he was dropped on his head as a child. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? They don't address that because it's almost like I could do everything that a woman does, but the problem for them is the me saying that I am a woman, right? Me saying this is my gender. That's where their problem lies, and I'm like, it kind of sounds like you don't want to legitimize. I don't want to not legitimize, but it's almost like you don't actually have an argument against the behavior itself, right? Like there's no reason for a boy not to wear women's clothing or anything like that, which is something you don't see in any of these videos that I've reacted to. And that is uh, that is I don't want to say it's a flaw in their logic because they don't actually address it at all. It's just kind of ignored. Like he's talking about his parents kind of in denial of objective reality. Like don't give your children structure and guidance and this sort of thing, and don't talk to him about objective reality or whatever. And now he's making this equation with sex and gender, saying that you can determine the gender of the child at 12 weeks old. And it does ignore the behavior aspect, right? Because let's just say, for example, that the child that we're talking about here, the hypothetical child, is born. We determine that the child is a girl. The child has a vagina, therefore the child is a girl. And then the child is born, and at about the age of 2 years old, we realize that the child doesn't like playing with girls' toys. The child likes playing with boys' toys, and uh, as at around 3 or 4 years old, the despises having long hair and wants to have short hair like the boys. And then at 5 or 6 years old, the child starts saying things like, "You know what? I think I want to play baseball with my friends because her friends are all boys," and things like that. When you're talking about that, you're talking more about gender than when you're looking at the picture of the baby inside the fetus. I'm sorry, inside the womb, the fetus inside the womb. Uh, that has more to do with gender than the genitalia, right? So it's gender is not just who you say you are, but it is actually how you behave, what you want, and these sorts of things. And I would point out that in our society, that is the general view already. People just perhaps don't realize that what they're talking about is gender there in that case, because uh, in our society, a male's manhood can be questioned, right? People will say things like men have to prove their manhood because otherwise their manhood will be questioned. It'll be called into question. That manhood that we're talking about, that is gender. That's not sex. That's not biological sex because there's no reason to question a male's maleness. All he has to do is drop his pants and he can prove that he's a male. But in order to prove that he's a man, in some societies, he might have to go out and beat somebody up. Or if he runs away from his fight, people might say, well, he's not a man. Things like that. So it already exists in our society that the idea of being a man or being a woman is more than just your genitalia, right? If a man sits around knitting sweaters all day and watching soap operas, people might question his manhood. What are they questioning? They're not questioning his biological sex. All right. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse with that one.
Be a good parent, then the correct time to throw a gender reveal party is when your child is somewhere between 10 and 20 years old. Okay, Persimmons, what are you? I'm a dolphin. All right. Someone get that dolphin some water. It's got a bright future with all this guidance we're giving it. Keep your child.
All right, so he basically here making the argument that if a boy claims to be a girl, he's basically he's as delusional as a person claiming to be a dolphin. Which for me, I shouldn't say for me, but that is a kind of, I don't want to say that's necessarily a sign of him being in denial, but it does make him look ignorant, because it does deny the whole part of the dysphoria that people who are trans have to deal with or contend with through their life. So dysphoria, if you're not familiar, basically it's the Greek word for feeling bad, and it refers to, when you talk about gender dysphoria, you're talking about the pain or discomfort that comes from playing gender roles, but primarily the sexual characteristics. So an example of gender dysphoria would be a boy who is disgusted by his own penis and wants to be rid of it. Or a girl who does not like having breasts, does not like people to see them, not because they look bad, but because she just doesn't like having them. That is an example of gender dysphoria. And he's basically just saying that's he's not saying that that's not real. He's just not acknowledging it. He's saying that if you think that maybe your gender might be opposite of your sex, that there's no valid motive for that, right? He's not saying there's no such thing as gender dysphoria. It's like he's oblivious to its existence.
Illiterate. Literacy and illiteracy is unfortunately a binary concept that negatively influences your child to think that binary realities are realities. In addition, if you allowed your child to just read, then they're
now this is another literacy and illiteracy. I don't know what that has to do with this. I don't know why he even brings this up. He does. I may have stopped a little bit too soon, but he does. The next part here, as he talks about burning books, that would be a straw man argument. What does burning books have to do with raising a non-gender child? You can raise a non-gender child without burning books. The other problem there was with the binary, teaching your children that binary realities are not realities. I think is how he put it, which is not accurate, because I don't talk to a ton of trans people. I have talked to quite a few. I've never met a trans person who says there is no such thing as male and female, or that when it comes to sex, that there isn't a binary as far as, at least for sexual reproduction. There are things like intersex. There might be deviations you might say, of sex characteristics, but where the issue with the binary comes in would be in terms of gender, because, like I said before, I don't know if I actually said it, but when it comes to gender, we could say people already kind of do it in our society, where one person might say that man A is more of a man than man B, right? Or man A is a real man, but man B he's not so much a real man. He might not be a man at all. That sort of thing, which implies that there is a kind of not a spectrum, but you might say shades of gray. If you think of man as black or woman as white or vice versa, then there are people who are kind of somewhere in between that, right? So you could say that that is a kind of binary, but it's not black and white, right? There are shades of gray that some women might be more of a feminine woman than other women, and some men might be more masculine than other men or more feminine than other men. Uh, so that's kind of where the whole thing of it not being a binary or the strict binary where having a penis means you have to act like a man. why is this so tiring? Am I in denial? Am I doing something I shouldn't be doing?
They're susceptible to getting their hands on textbooks and other great works of literature that speaks to the existence of actual men and women. This type of biological propaganda will lead your child down a dark path where they discover their biological gender rather than creating the gender of their choosing.
Their biological gender. What is biological gender? Here again, he's basically saying that that gender is biological. That it's not psychological; it's biological. Uh, Now you might say people might say, well, your psychology comes from your biology, which is could be true, but that doesn't mean it comes from your genitalia. Uh, Biological gender. Who has biological gender? I mean, that's what is that? Uh, just to take a footnote. 2 days ago, I was doing my French lesson, and I learned that the word for vegetable in French, I forget exactly how to pronounce it, but it's basically legume, which is I think English word for beans or something like that. Legume is a masculine noun in French. French is a gendered language, just as Latin was. French comes from Latin, and Latin was a gendered language, which means that the nouns were assigned a gender. So in French, the word for vegetable, legume, is a masculine noun. And then during this same lesson, I discovered that the word salad is a feminine noun, and I'm thinking, who came up with this? Who determined, and on what basis did they determine that vegetable would be masculine, but salad would be feminine? Like, I mean, what does it not make sense that if vegetable is masculine, that salad would also be masculine, or vegetable would be feminine if salad is feminine? I mean, what is the logic behind that? Is that objective reality? Or is that somebody's opinion? They looked at salad and they said, "Oh, salad. Yeah, I think we're gonna go with feminine for that one. It kind of reminds me of someone tossing salad. Uh, that's where I'm a little bit like when people are insisting that sex and gender are the same thing. I'm like, do you not know where like the concept of gender comes from? Are you not have you never learned a gendered language or things like that and seen how aspects of reality are themselves assigned gender, and that has nothing to do with genitalia? Like salad, does salad have a vagina? Do vegetables have a penis? Ah,
Let's see here. I'm just gonna go burn these for you. Heavily emphasize imagination. When your bigoted binary parents were raising you, they probably taught you to use your imagination from time to time, but to believe the reality that your eyes were seeing in front of you. This is just an old, outdated paradigm, and I am sincerely sorry you were subjected to it. But we have to reverse this paradigm in order for you to be the kind of parent you want to be. So teach your child to use their imagination and to believe that what they're making up is real. As you do this, further educate.
He is here basically just repeating the same argument that if you think you're trans, that you're just making it up. Like he did before with the dolphin. Well, yeah, I'm a dolphin. That you're ignoring objective reality, which is to say, almost in a way, it's basically like saying there is no internal reality. There's only the external reality, and that if your internal reality is in some way incongruent with the external reality, you have a mental problem. You're delusional.
Them that what they see in front of them is the made-up world. That way, when they make believe what gender they are, they'll believe that what they imagine is real. Reality should always be based on imagination. See all those trees over there? They're not really there. Subscribe to the Disney Channel. This kind of speaks for itself, doesn't it? Kids, come on! We're late for the Disney drag show! I can't wait to see what Mickey the Molesty Mouse and Donald the Dickless Duck have to teach you about yourselves. Let them try all genders. Just like how...
Oh, this is making me tired, and I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why. I almost feel like maybe I shouldn't be doing this or something. Maybe it's maybe I'm on some kind of ego trip, or I don't know. Like it is almost like picking on the little kid in class. You know, is that what I'm doing? Am I picking on the little kid? This guy he has an inferior intelligence. Look how dumb he is. He's just a fucking retard. He's a goddamn moron. Is that what I'm doing? Is that why I feel so kind of just like, I think maybe I should go do something else? Why am I doing this? Maybe somebody should analyze my video in the same way that I'm saying JP Sears is doing this because he's probably trans in denial. Somebody should watch my video and say, you're doing this because you're a narcissist or something, and you just want to pick on the little kid. Is that all it is? I just want to pick on the retard? I mean, have you seen any good logic in this so far? Have you seen anything in this so far that looks like good logic? You think JP Sears should write a book, publish a book on how to raise children? Or how not to raise children? Or both? I'm going to write a two-part book. First part is how to raise your children. The other part is how not to raise your children. Don't let them think for themselves. Don't let them think for themselves. They need you to tell them who they are, because they're never going to figure it out on their own. You think JP Sears knows who he is? Maybe. I do. One of the reasons why I'm picking on him is because he does make a lot of these videos where he talks about trans and stuff like that, and you look at him, a lot of times he's wearing wigs and girls' clothing and stuff like that. So I do wonder, does he know who he is? Maybe he's doing this for a reason. Maybe he's just maybe he's doing trans people a favor, by making this. Maybe what he did. Maybe this is his way of he's playing the devil's advocate, right? He's playing the devil's advocate for a good reason. Maybe I'm the retard here. I got duped. Maybe I'm the useful idiot here who got duped into making this video, which was his intent the whole time. He made this video because he's like, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play devil's advocate, and I'm gonna the other people out there, they're gonna retaliate, and that's what I really want, because they wouldn't have presented. I wouldn't have made these arguments that I'm making if he hadn't made this argument in the first place. So maybe he is doing God's work by playing the devil's advocate. Does God play the devil's advocate sometimes? Maybe JP Sears is God. What do you think of that idea? Did I address that point? I did not address that point. Mickey the molesting mouse and Donald the dickless duck. This is something that you see that we saw in the Matt Walsh video, the association with trans and things like pedophilia. Children drag shows, I think, was what he had. He was talking about Mickey the molesting mouse, as though being trans somehow had something to do with molesting children. Which is a straw man argument, right? That is, it's like saying, well, this can't be true because they're going to molest your children. If it is true, they have to be pedophiles, right? You can't be trans and not be a pedophile. So trans isn't real. And then Donald the Dickless Duck, which is basically him saying that he's describing the drag queens, right? We're going to the Disney drag show to watch Mickey the molesting mouse and Donald the Dickless Duck. If you're calling a person dickless, what are you saying about them? Are you saying they don't actually have a dick, or are you saying that they're not a man? You know, if that is a criticism against a person, if I were to say to a man, hey, you know what, you are dickless, am I saying he doesn't actually have a dick, or am I saying you're not a real man? And if I'm saying he's not a real man, what am I talking about? Am I talking about his biological sex, or am I talking about his gender?
Normal parents will expose their children to a variety of different hobbies to see which ones the children like. Good parents should do the same thing with genders. To do this properly, we at the Socialist Federation Against America recommend the following schedule. Let's say you're a birthing person, which, by the way, why are you so against abortion? And you have what the bigoted doctors call a male child. So from 0 to 2.
Is there anything bigoted about saying that you have a male child? Is anybody opposed to saying to a parent they have a male child? I don't know. I mean, I don't know how other trans see it. The way that I know most people see it, or I don't want to say most people, but kind of the convention is that male and female refer to biological sex. That's what you use if you want to say that a person is biologically male. If a person has the genitalia of a male, or a masculine genitalia, whatever you want to call it, that you use the word male. So I consider myself to be a male because I have a penis and balls. I was not born with a vagina, and that makes me a male. That doesn't make me a man. To put it another way, male and female refer to biological sex, masculine and feminine refer to gender, but also because masculine and feminine are associated with man and woman, right? Because between the words man and male, which one is associated with masculinity? Male is not associated with masculinity. Man is associated with masculinity. As I said before, if you say a person is not a man, you're talking about his masculinity. So that's gender. That's why in language, gendered nouns are considered either masculine or feminine. They're not considered male or female. So is it bigoted to say a child is male? No. Is it bigoted to say a child is masculine when he's not actually masculine? That's a little bit different.
Years old, you'll want to put your male child on hormonal therapy to be a female. This is great because your child's delicate physiology will have a much better time of being helpless against all the unnatural estrogen hormones are being injected.
I don't know what this is either. I don't know who does this. I don't know why anyone would do this. I don't know why you would give a child hormones at 2 years old. For one, it's not going to help them like if you give a boy estrogen, that's not going to help him discover whether he's a boy or a girl. The best way to help him discover if he's a boy or a girl is to let him try the behavior, right? Like you let him try girls' clothes, let him try sitting like a girl or playing with girls' toys. Those are more the things that will help him discover that he's trans or a girl than giving him estrogen at 2 years old. Uh, I don't know who does this. I've never heard of anybody doing this. I don't know why you would do this. It wouldn't, as far as I can tell, it wouldn't do any good. You'd be risking, you'd be putting your child's health at risk for no good reason. I don't know of a doctor who would give a prescription for estrogen for a 2 year old or 1 year old child, or even 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 year old child, or even, you know, I don't know if there is an age limit. From a doctor's perspective, I don't know. Maybe doctors have a better idea than I do at what age a child should be given hormone treatment. I do believe that that is currently a matter of debate. But the thing with gender and uh, like hormone treatment has more to do with the sexual characteristics that arise from going through puberty, right? Like girls are not born with having breasts; they grow breasts when they go through puberty. So giving a 2 year old girl testosterone is not really going to help her uh, because at 2 years old, a biological male and a biological female are not really that different in appearance. Meaning that if you dress up a 2 year old male as a girl and a 2 year old female as a boy, people probably would just look at them and think that's what they are. Because, like I said, girls don't have breasts at 2 years old. Boys don't have, you know, body hair and facial hair and things like that. A 2 year old boy does not have a beard that he has to try to say, well, do I like this beard or not? Should I get rid of the beard? That's not something a 2 year old has to deal with. So, oh my God, here it is again. Here it is again. This is feeling like maybe what am I doing? What is my motivation here? Why do I feel the need? Am I insecure in my own position? I need to fortify my own position by picking on this guy over here, this guy over here. Is that what I'm doing? Am I apologizing? Am I a transgender apologetic? I don't mean apologizing as in saying I'm sorry. You know what I mean? I feel like you're a Christian apologetic. What does that mean? It basically means you make arguments on behalf of Christianity or something like that. I don't know. I don't have a. There's something about this that just makes me feel a little bit weird, a little bit weird. Like I don't know. I don't know. Almost like for one, it's almost like it's too easy. It is like I say, it's like picking on the retard in class. It's a little bit too easy. It's because what I'm seeing here is just a bunch of bad logic, just nonstop bad. Uh, this isn't even really logic here. There's no. This you could call this a straw man or a slippery slope argument. Slippery slope meaning basically that if you allow this to happen, then shit's gonna go crazy. Like parents are gonna be giving hormones to 2 year old kids if you let people raise non-gender children. That would be a slippery slope argument, but it's also a straw man because it doesn't really have anything to do with the point of raising non-gender children. What is for one? How many people actually do this? Is everybody raising non-gender children giving hormones to 2 year old kids? Uh, what is it? What does that have to do with this? This is oh, is my brain? I think my brain just doesn't want to work at the moment. I kind of feel a little bit sick. Maybe because all I've had to for breakfast is a cup of coffee. This has been my breakfast so far. Is this big huge cup of coffee? I mean, mm, Am I not being genuine here? Is there something? Do I need to confess something? Do I need to reveal that I'm a really a pedophile, and I need to? I just want to make people. Well, he hasn't said it yet, but he's gonna. This is part of. I'm a part of an agenda. I'm a Illuminati elite, and this is my plan to take over the world. Do I need to confess that? Why am I feeling the way I feel? What is that about? Yeah, it could just be that I don't like the way that I look in the video. That could be part of it. I liked it better when I had the wig on, but my wig is out in the bus. And I don't want to go get it. Uh, yeah, there is something inside me that's kind of like, just turn off the thing. Why are you wasting your time with this? Why are you doing this? Why? Because this is the third time I've made this video. The first time I messed up the video. The second time I didn't really like my initial point. Because like I said, in the second time I was basically making the argument that he is trans in denial. This guy here, and I kind of felt guilty about that. And that's kind of how I feel now. It's kind of like it's not quite the same, but it is. I kind of felt like then afterwards I made that video. I thought I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't be trying to argue that someone else is trans in denial. I shouldn't be doing that. And but even now, I'm still kind of like, what is my? Is it just that the truth does not need to be defended? Is that kind of the thing? You ever heard that saying that the truth does not need to be defended? The truth is like a lion. Just let it go free, and it will defend itself. Does the fact that I'm making this video mean that I'm kind of insecure in my own ideas? That I'm kind of this defensive and not sturdy in who I am? Not you know, like I can't allow this to exist. I can't allow this to stand. He needs to be brought down. He needs to be demolished and destroyed, and however they put it on YouTube. You know how YouTube is. So and so destroyed so and so with their logic. Is that what I'm trying to do here? I'm trying to destroy JP Sears because truth is I'm not so sturdy in my own view, my own identity. I'm really not. I took some pictures of myself yesterday, actually, and with a wig on, and I thought I look like a woman in the pictures, which is a little bit unusual because I've been on hormones now over 11 months. I'm going on 1 year on hormones, and I'm looking more like a woman day by day. And so I looked at these pictures and I thought I look like a woman. But the thought that came with that is I don't know who that person is. I don't know who I am. I'm looking at myself and I don't know who that person is. I don't know what kind of life that person would have had if that person had been if I had grown up living as a girl. I don't know what my life would have been like. I can't even imagine what my life would have been like. And is that my problem here? Is that why I'm feeling a little bit queasy? Because I'm not bringing my own. I'm in my logic. I'm in my head. You know. Uh, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't know who I would have been if I had grown up. If I had asserted to my parents at 4 years old that I was trans, and they said, "All right, we'll let you live as a girl. We'll let you live as a trans, maybe, because maybe that's a better way to put it. Um, because maybe I don't really, maybe I'm not really a girl per se. Maybe I like boys' toys and girls' toys too. Maybe I like uh, girls' clothes, but maybe I like the idea of being like a squad leader in the army too at the same time. Is that possible? Is it possible that I want to be a squad leader in the army, but I like wearing girls' clothes? Uh, that might be possible, I think. What do you think about that idea? Uh, but I don't know. I don't know who I would have been. When I looked at those pictures, I thought, I don't know who I am. I feel like I don't really know. Uh, So when I heard about, I didn't even hear about raising non-gender children until I watched this video. I'd heard of it, but kind of just like in a kind of briefly, you know. Actually, I'd heard of it from the Native Americans. I've heard of Native Americans raising non-gender children, you know, centuries ago. The way they did it was around the age of they didn't assign a gender to their child when they were born, but around the age of 4 or 5, they would let the child choose for themselves. They would basically not impose their ideas of gender on the child, and then at this kind of they would have a ceremony where they would present the child with two objects. They'd have a bow, like a bow and arrow, and a basket. And if the child chose the bow, they would then be essentially socialized as a boy. Socialized, and I mean they would be performing boys or the men's roles like a someone born with a vagina. If she chose the bow, she or he, the way they saw it. I guess I don't know if they had pronouns or in that kind of stuff, gendered pronouns, but would be a warrior like the other men, right? Would go into battle and these sorts of things. Whereas if someone born with a penis chose the basket, someone born male chose a basket, he would be raised as a girl, or not raised, but live as a girl socially. He would perform women's tasks like weaving. I don't know if the women cooked. I don't know what they did there, but just stuff that associated with being women, because women typically didn't go into battle, that sort of thing. So I'd heard of it from them. I'd not heard of Americans doing it, aside from kind of just, maybe like a headline or something like that. I hadn't read about it. I don't know how people are doing it. I don't know what their process is. I don't know if they're going to have a ceremony where they present their child with an object, or, maybe a pink ribbon or a blue ribbon and say, you have to choose uh, at a certain age. Whatever. I don't know. I don't know how they're doing it. But I do have a kind of, you might say, I have a kind of emotional attachment to the whole thing, right? If I were raising a child, I think that I would raise the child. I shouldn't say raise the child. I would not impose my ideas of gender onto the child as is based on their sex. Like I would not say to the child, "You have a penis. That means you have to act like a boy." Uh, if my child wanted to play with, if my son, my male child wanted to play with girls' toys, I would say, "Go right ahead. If you want to wear girls' clothes, go right ahead." Uh, I don't see any harm in that. I don't see any harm in letting a boy wear girls' clothes or play with girls' toys or things like that. Because again, that is one of the things that is not addressed here is the actual behavior. It's just the idea. It's just I'm a girl. That's the only thing that they're really. It's the same. It was the same with the other two videos that I did. This is kind of the whole thing here. He's talking about uh, objective reality. If a young boy plays with girls' toys, is that not objective reality? Is the boy denying objective reality when he's playing with the girls' toys? That's where I'm like, it's almost like he's in denial of objective reality, because he's not talking about that. That it's like Uh, I mean, he's wearing a bra. Is that objective reality? It is objective reality that he's wearing a bra. Is there some rule that he should not be wearing the bra? I mean, what is kind of the argument here? Is he okay with men wearing bras? He's just not okay with them saying they're women. If that's the whole thing, then there's I don't need to say that. I don't need to say that I'm a woman. I'm wearing a bra right now. You know, I'm wearing a bra. I have breasts. I don't need to say that I'm a woman, right? So what is the issue? Is the issue that I have breasts and I'm wearing a bra, or is the issue that I'm claiming to be a woman, which I'm not? But if I were, what is the problem? I can grow breasts and wear a bra, but I can't claim that I'm a woman. And it's like, what is the actual problem?
Injected with. Then from the period of 2 to 4 years old, you'll want to reverse course. My marker ran out. And do a couple years of male hormone therapy. Now at this point, your child was born a male and then transitioned to female and then transitioned not back to male, but transitioned forward to a different kind of male. And at this point, they might think they're ready to make up their mind about their gender because they're 4 and they have a well-formed brain. But they're not quite ready because you're just getting started. There's another 73 genders for them to explore. You want to keep progressing them forward via 2-year period.
Oh, me. My friend might say that I'm nitpicking here. I don't know. But because I do keep stopping to address every little point that he makes, the whole thing of the 73 genders is just another straw man argument, right? What does that have to do with raising a non-gendered child? Uh, if I have a child and I say I'm going to not impose my ideas of gender onto the child, does that mean then that I'm going to impose the idea that there are 73 genders my child has to choose from? Uh,
Periods of hormonal therapy to the other genders like two-spirit, suplex sexual, Tyrannosaurus transrex, Tiger King, Stockholm Syndrome, non-conforming accountant, celiac, WNBA, and all the other endangered genders. After decades of letting them physiologically sample all the genders, they should be psychologically damaged enough to be
physiologically
a
sample
healthy
all genders.
individual with a solid enough.
What does that mean? What does it mean to physiologically sample all genders? Physiologically sample all genders. So there are 73 genders that you need to sample physiologically, which means that I guess one gender is you have to remove your left breast if you're a girl, but you have to wait until you go through puberty to do that. So maybe you could take estrogen at 2 years old to grow breasts, and then remove one of them, and then put it back on, and then remove the other one to see if you're gender 4.0 or gender 4.2. Uh, I don't know. I don't know what that's supposed to be. What is physiologically experimenting with gender? What does that mean? Uh, I am physiologically experimenting with gender by taking estrogen, but I'm not really looking for one of the 73 genders. I'm looking for me, right? I'm looking for who I am. That's kind of where I'm a little bit like with that whole thing of being there's 73 genders. If my purpose in raising a non-gender child is to let the child discover for themselves who they are, why do I don't need to mention that there are, I don't need to say, well, there are 73 genders. These are your options. This is your option of who you can be. That would really kind of defeat the whole purpose of me saying to my child, figure out for yourself who you are. I'll give you guidance. I'll inform you that it's a good idea to wash your sheets once in a while. It's a good idea to brush your teeth regularly. It's a good idea to eat healthy. Maybe I'll teach you about drugs and maybe why you should use some discretion if you try drugs. Maybe it's a good idea to try drugs, kid. Don't do it as a kid though. Wait till you get a little bit older. I shouldn't say wait till you get older. Maybe I'll say, I'm not going to let you do it until you get older. But uh, once you're a certain age, then you'll be free. You can choose on your own. But here's why you should be careful. Uh, if you're going to go on a date, maybe here's some tips. Uh, if you want to date a boy, if you want to date a girl, it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not going to say you have to date one or the other, but maybe when you go on dates, maybe what you should do is think about how you feel on the inside. If you feel like this is wrong, if you feel like you're in a situation where you're being pressured to do something you don't want to do, don't do it. Stuff like that, right? But I don't need to tell the kid who they should be sleeping with or any of that stuff. I don't need to impose that on them. And one of the reasons why I say that is because I'm 46 years old and I'm now having to kind of undo or overcome the conditioning that I went through as a kid. Uh, it wasn't like I went through like some kind of basic training where like my parents were like, "This is who you are. This is how you're going to act," and that sort of thing. It was more just social pressures and things like that, just a little bit here and a little bit there, and but it was usually to a certain theme that seems to have pervaded my entire youth. Like if I were sitting like a girl, somebody would say, "Hey, you're sitting like a girl," which is to say you shouldn't be sitting like a girl. Well, if I was playing baseball and I threw the ball like that, people might say, "Oh, you're throwing like a girl. You're not supposed to be throwing like a girl." Or if I got sad and I started crying, people say, "Stop acting like a girl." You see what I'm saying? Just a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here. On everything, it all adds up to you shouldn't act like a girl. You got to act like a man. So at a certain age, around 37, 38, I realized that was ridiculous. That was not just ridiculous; it was harmful. It was that was causing a lot of the pain that I endured through most of my life. Through most of my life I was enduring just I would be stressed out for no reason. I was depressed. I abused drugs and alcohol, and it's possible that I could have avoided all of that if I'd just been free to discover who I am without people trying to inform me who I am. But at least I discovered it, or I'm discovering it, I should say. It has taken me a while because I do have to address those social pressures. I do have to recognize what is me and what is the voice in my head that is actually all those people in the past, right? Because there's what you might call my genuine desire. You might say at the very root of my being is this desire that is genuine. It is true. It is the real me. And then you might think of it like a plant that's growing, right? But this plant's trying to sprout, it's trying to grow and grow into the tree. Isn't that what Jesus said? Unless the seed falls into the ground and dies, it abides the seed alone. But if it dies, it bears much fruit. So that's kind of where I'm at, where it's like I'm a seed in the ground, and there's this plant inside of me that wants to grow. It is my genuine self, my genuine desire, and one that what's kind of kept me in my shell, so to speak, as far as I can tell, is just social pressure. People saying, "Oh, you're sitting like a girl. You shouldn't be sitting like a girl." Stuff like that. Just fear of being ridiculous, fear of being rejected, fear of being abnormal, fear of being socially unacceptable. Otherwise, generally speaking, that was kind of my fear-based thinking and the fear-based identity that I had. You might say that for the years previous prior to this, trans experimentation, discovery, whatever. that I was my whole identity was a fear-based, essentially, identity. That in other words, my identity itself was built upon a foundation of fear. That I was essentially trying to be somebody that could be loved by other people. That I was trying to be somebody that would be accepted, and but it was not real. It was essentially I was being a fake person because I was afraid. I was afraid of being rejected, of not being accepted, of being ridiculed, and these sorts of things. So that's uh, I've already forgot what he was talking about. Uh, I already forgot what he was talking about. I guess I'll just get back to the video.
Sense of self to finally make their decision. With these 5 methods on how to raise a non-gendered child, you no longer have to worry about your child being exposed to values, structure, or parenting that would.
This is another one. Am I nitpicking? Is that what I'm doing? Am I just like a cat? I'm looking for a mouse to play with. I need to kill a mouse. I'm just feeling like I need to kill a mouse here. I need to destroy a mouse. Is that what I'm doing? Here he's implying that if you raise your child non-gendered, that they're not going to get values, they're not going to get structure, they're not going to get parenting. That you're basically like it's almost like they're not having a parent at all. Uh, but that is another. Not only, I mean, it's not even. What do you want to call that? I don't even want to say the word straw man again. I don't even want to say it again, but I just said it. But what values what values are you given to a child by telling the child what gender they are? What structure are you giving a child by telling the child what gender they are? If I say, well, the purpose of raising a non-gender child is let them discover it for themselves, is he saying we shouldn't do that? What we should do is tell the child what gender they are. If your child was born with a penis, you need to inform your child because that's how you give them values. Boy, my earbud just died, so I'm not gonna be able to hear it when I play, or I'm gonna have to turn on my speakers. Let's see here. Well, it's on speakers now by default because my computer is very smart. It realized that my earbuds were dead, so it went back. It reverted back to the speakers as the default audio option. Is that not brilliant? Is my computer not a genius? I think my computer is a genius. I mean that is kind of the thing here. What exactly is he suggesting that we do? If this is meant to be sarcasm and saying that raising a non-gender child is kind of delusional and you're going to be raising children with no values and no structure, what is he saying? That you need to tell your children that the boys, they need to act like boys? Is that the thing? Is acting like a boy a value? You know, how is that a value? In what way is acting like a boy a value, right? Boys act like boys because that's who they are, right? If a boy has to be told to act like a boy, he may not really be a boy. It's like if you have to correct your child, if you have a son and he keeps playing with the girl's toys and you're saying, you need to get over here, it's like you're fighting against nature, pretty much, right? You're trying to push the cart sideways, as they say. Which, if I had to guess, I'd say that's what's up with JPC. Is I would say probably his surrounding society, his parents said, you need to act like a man.
because that's what I was told, basically. Like I said, a little bit here, a little bit there. I think what he should do is he should shave his beard. I think he should shave his beard. You know, beard in homosexual jargon is something that a man does or has or wears to hide the fact that he's gay. So like a man who if he dates a woman and people suspect that he's actually gay, they'll say that his girlfriend is his beard, because it's basically his way of hiding his homosexuality. But literally speaking, I think that he should shave his beard and try putting on makeup for a video, because he's made a lot of these videos wearing bras and wigs, but I don't think I've seen him in a video yet without his beard and with makeup on. I think he should do it without the beard, with makeup, with the bra. His hair is okay. His hair's not bad. He might need to style it a little bit, maybe put it up in like some kind of, I think, take his hair that he has, forget the blue wig. He has a blue wig. I think he should forget that. Forget the blue wig. Take his beautiful long red hair, and put it up in a bun. You know, maybe put the braided bun. You know, and put like some little tiny flower things in it, and then do a video like that. And then see if he still thinks the same thing. See how he feels. He might feel a certain way. He probably feels a certain way wearing the bra. He does wear it a lot in a lot of his videos. So that's why I'm saying I don't know where he's coming from. Maybe he is trans and he's just he knows it, and he's making this just to be devil's advocate. I don't know.
Allow them to grow to be an empowered adult, because these methods will indoctrinate your children into the good reptilian hands that will help us with our agenda to create a...
I think it ties me, because I think maybe because maybe I don't really need to address these points. Maybe I'm insulting your intelligence just by addressing these points. Indoctrination, agenda, reptile hands. Basically, what's he saying? That if you raise a non-gendered child, you're like what's it called? Not a useful idiot, but you're a pawn in a Illuminati plot. The Illuminati, the reptile people, they're out to what? What is the plot? Raising a non-gendered child is going to destroy society, because letting children decide for themselves or discover for themselves who they are is bad for society. What is the argument? How if it is, even if it is an agenda, assume for a second that the Illuminati are actually they're putting out this, you should raise your children as non-gendered. Let's just say for example that there was some global government said, we want you to raise your children as non-gendered until they discover for themselves who they are. I'm still wondering, where's the problem? Why would that be a problem?
A more compliant, less resilient America.
My God, it's like every 5 seconds. You might be wondering, why are you getting so frustrated? You did this already. I did it last night. But now it's the morning, and make them more compliant. So here he's implying that the whole plot here is to try to make people compliant. We want you to be compliant, because imposing your gender ideas on your child is not compliance. That's not compliance. If you tell your children who they are, you're not being compliant with social norms, right? Ask my family. I don't want to repeat myself. I said this in the last video. I hate to say it again, even though you haven't seen the last video. but ask my family who is the least compliant person. I'm holding back my ears so I don't look like a vampire. But who's the least compliant person? Oh my God. Who is the least compliant person in my family? How would raising a non-gender child make a child or the family more compliant? It's like where did he even get the idea that you should impose your gender ideas on your child to begin with? I mean, did he learn that from his parents? Did his parents teach him that he is a male, therefore he has to act like a boy? Is he not just following their orders then by perpetuating this idea? Ay me. But if I say that I'm going to let my child discover for themselves who they are versus telling the child who they are, does it not make more sense that the child who's discovering for himself who he is the least compliant? I don't get that.
From all of us at the Socialist Federation Against America, thank you for doing this to your children.
You are welcome.
Hey,
that is the end. That is the end. Am I being the useful idiot here? Am I the useful idiot here that I fell for his trap? This was his trap. He wanted me to make this video, and I was like, all right, I'm your pawn. JP Sears, I'm your pawn. I think he might be a member of the Illuminati sometimes, playing devil's advocate. Was that worthwhile? Was that useful? Was that if it was useful, then I was the useful idiot, right? I was the useful idiot, and so I made something useful. Because if you don't make something useful, you're not really a useful idiot. If what you made is not useful, you're not really a useful idiot. What is a useful idiot? You'll have to look that up yourself. Look up useful idiot. Yeah, so what I'm looking at here when I watch this video is someone who has a problem with raising non-gender child or non-gender children, but not a good reason why. I don't see in here a good reason why someone would be opposed to raising non-gender children. What we have are, well, if you raise a non-gender child, that means you're a socialist. So that's a reason not to raise a non-gender child, because you're a socialist if you do. You're not living in objective reality if you raise a non-gender child, because imposing your ideas of gender on your child, that's objective reality. Telling your child who has a penis that he has to act like a boy, that's objective reality, right? That if you have a penis, you have to wear men's clothes, you have to play with Tonka trucks, and you have to date girls. You can't be putting no dicks in your mouth. That's objective reality, right? That's what he's saying here, right? Is that what he's saying? Did I put words in his mouth, or is that what he's saying? Not what he's saying. Yeah. So you're socialist. You're not living in objective reality. Your child could be delusional. It might come to the idea that they're maybe the opposite gender of this typically associated with their sex. That's 3. You're going to be giving hormones to your child at the age of 2. If you raise your child as non-gendered, you're going to have to give them hormones at the age of 2, because how else are they going to know what gender they are? Just letting them try on different clothes or play with different toys or hang out with people that they associate or they identify with, that's not going to help them. They have to take hormones. That's the only way they're going to find out what gender they are at the age of 2 years old. Mickey the molesting mouse and Donald the dickless duck. That's a reason not to raise a non-gendered child. And the psychological damage of raising a non-gender child, because there's no psychological damage that comes from imposing your ideas of gender onto your child. and telling someone born with a penis that he has to act like a man when he grows up, and he has to get married to a woman, and all this other stuff. There's no psychological damage that happens from that. And then what else? The compliance. You're going to be raising, if you let your child discover who they are on their own, you're going to be raising children who are more open to coercion and manipulation, and they're going to just do whatever people tell them. They're going to be more compliant if you let them decide for themselves who they are. What else? So you got seven fantastic reasons why you should not raise a non-gender child. That 7. Look at that, 7. Did I miss any? There's 7. That's an Illuminati number right there. That is a religiously significant number of reasons why you should not raise a non-gendered child, right? Which means it must be divinely inspired. You see, I told you, J.P. Sears, he's doing God's work, because he had seven reasons why you should not raise a non-gendered child. You're socialist. I already forgot what they were. You're socialist, not living in an objective reality. Your child could be delusional. I already forgot what they were. Hormones. You got to give them hormones. Those are all very, 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 very convincing reasons why you should not raise a non-gendered child. So my question to you is, apparently he's opposed to you raising a non-gendered child. My question to you is, what is his real reason? Do those seem like real reasons? Do those seem like valid reasons to you not to raise a non-gender child? Or do you think maybe he has another reason why you should not raise a non-gender child, and he just doesn't want to tell you what it is? Maybe he's not even sure himself. Maybe he's not. Maybe he just kind of feels like it's just a bad idea. It's just a bad idea to let your children discover on their own who they are, because socialism, Mickey the Molesting Mouse, the Illuminati, the reptiles, the plot, they're taking over the world. They want to make you compliant and obedient, because you're definitely going to be obedient if you discover for yourself who you are. That's the way to obedience, for sure. For sure. I can't imagine a person who is more obedient than a person who has gone on the journey of self-discovery. How was that? What do you think? Does he have an ulterior motive, or does he have a reason for why you should not raise a non-gendered child and he just didn't share it? Or were those all his? Was that his exhaustive? Did he exhaust himself here and say these are all valid reasons why you should not raise a non-gendered child? I suspect that he has a reason why he doesn't want you to raise a non-gendered child, and he did not mention it. Does anybody have a good reason why you should not raise a non-gender child? Were any of those good reasons? Did anybody think those were good reasons? You're a socialist. You're not living in objective reality. You might say that's a good reason, but the problem with the claim is that where is the denial of objective reality there? Is it telling a person who has a penis that he has to act like a boy? Is that objective reality? If I say to a person born with a penis, it's okay to act like a girl, how is that denying objective reality? Where's the objective reality that says someone born with a penis has to act like a boy? And if they can act like a girl, what's the problem with them saying they are a girl? Why is that? Where is the issue there? If you say we're going to make a distinction between sex and gender and say that a person born with a penis is male, but the gender is feminine, right? How is that denying objective reality? Because when we say that their gender is feminine, we're talking about their behavior, their desires, and all that other stuff. And objectively speaking, right? I shouldn't say objectively speaking, because gender, like I said before, is very much subjective. Because if a vegetable is masculine in French and salad is feminine, that's not objective reality. Somebody made that up. So what are our girls' toys? Right now I'm wearing a woman's shirt, right? But is that objective reality? How did this shirt end up in the women's section of the store? I bought this shirt at Goodwill. It was in the women's section. But what makes this a woman's shirt? Is it objective reality that this is a woman's shirt, or did someone at Goodwill decide that belongs in the women's department? If they had put this in the men's department, would that make it a man's shirt? That's subjective, right? You're talking about subjective stuff there. Why me? Am I doing the work of the Illuminati here? Am I their pawn? Did I get suckered into doing this video? Is that why I feel so strange? Like, you see on my head, you see all this tension in my forehead? Do I have a vein popping out of my forehead? I don't know what's going on. I do feel a little bit like this was not a genuine video on my part. It almost was like maybe it's because what my motive was not to do something genuine, but to do something that's socially relevant, because I want to get more views. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not really sure. I'm not sure why I feel the way that I do. What is this? It's like I'm standing on a kind of a shaky ground or something. Like my feet are not firmly planted. Like I don't even know my own motivations, kind of, sort of speak. Like I'm talking about that plant that wants to grow from the ground, and I'm like, I don't know if this is a genuine expression of that plant. That plant's a little bit right now. It's like this kind of. It's like, where's the light? Where is the light? I'm trying to grow towards the light, but I don't see it. I don't know where it's at. What am I talking about? I kind of feel like I need another cup of coffee, folks. All right, I'm going to stop right there because I'm getting a little bit off topic, a little bit out there in left field. What do you think about that? Out there in left field. And just for your viewing pleasure,